Hello, Actives, and welcome to the April Founders Call. It's great to be with you today. As always, I'm joined by David Brown. Hello, David. How are you doing? Happy April. We are officially at the middle of the month now.
Well, it's exciting. The time goes by so fast, especially when you're having great success and good things are happening.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, so for those of you who are brand new, and some of you are new, or if you've old and just forgot, the purpose of our Founders Call, we want to talk a little bit about how we did in March, the last month, and what we're seeing ahead of us, and not only during this month, but in the next month. So we're gonna share with you some of our highlights, right? Some of the things that we're excited about that just happened. I can say that I'm excited to be in the month of April. I love this season. David, I'm sure you do too. The seasons are changing there in Utah, and here in California, things are starting to warm up. Things are budding, and it's just beautiful. And happy Easter to everybody. We celebrated that a couple of weeks ago, and that was a very momentous and very special time to spend with friends and family and loved ones. There's a lot going on this month. David, we're getting ready to go to Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. I've never been there. I know you've been there before. So that's going to be exciting to celebrate the successes of many of our distributors that qualified to go this last year during a pandemic of all times. But I guess before we talk about that, March was a great month for us, David. We closed really strong, and you and I were just talking about some of the leaders that rank advanced and overcome some pretty serious challenges over their tenure with us here at ACTIVZ. You know, what kind of excited you about March before we move on to April? What would you say your highlights were?
Well, it was exciting. It's always exciting to report that you've hit a new record high in revenue. That was true in Mexico. Mexico hit new heights. The US hit new heights. Peru is still hanging in there doing well. Even Japan showed a little bit more. We know that Japan has been struggling with the pandemic more than most countries have, so that was nice to see. The Global Connect program continues to go crazy with people, especially in countries like Colombia and Bolivia, where we'll be pretty soon in the next few months, already jump-starting their business and getting involved in really significant volume coming out of those countries. And it's really amazing to me because, you know, we're not on the ground there. We don't have all the resources that these other more mature markets do, like Mexico and the US. And yet these people are so excited about building a business. They're not going to let anything stop them. And so they say, okay, this is not easy. There's a lot more hoops I have to jump through, and then they do it anyway. And it's kind of interesting to me. Sometimes I ask myself, Ryan, I think if I was in their shoes, would I do that? If I was in Peru and I had to every single month stand in line for hours to go make a bank deposit to pay for the product, would I do it? And I'm kind of ashamed to say, boy, I'm not sure. But then we have people who are so committed that to the health benefits of the products and the opportunity to build a business and provide themselves opportunities that to them don't otherwise easily come. It's just incredibly inspirational to me. So those are some highlights to me of March.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that up about you know, our emerging markets through Global Connect, because I'm with you. I asked myself that also. You know, standing for hours in line to make bank deposits in Peru, it really is. We need to take our hats off to all the leaders down there. And truthfully, like you said, this was the biggest month ever. Was the biggest month in the U.S. So congratulations to all of our U.S.-based distributors. Mexico broke a record as well. I mean, highest month in Mexico. It was really a phenomenal month. Talking about one of our Global Connect markets, Colombia. You know, many of you know that we're working on opening right now Bolivia and Colombia, and we're working on getting, you know, all of our products into Peru for that matter. But in Colombia, there was someone, David, you and I were recently talking about this. We already have an A10 there. We have a new A10 in March named Justin Schmalbach, and the other is named Oscar Pena. And this is a market where there is zero support. I mean, there is zero infrastructure. They can't order the product from anywhere in Colombia. They buy it from the United States, pay exorbitant fees, and have it shipped down there. And that's how everybody is getting it. No one down there is It's not crossing any borders in South America. They're literally getting their product from the United States right now and being paid through Hyperwallet. But last month in March, this new A10, Justin Schmalbach, it's interesting because I've had the opportunity, David, to interview both he and to get to know he and Oscar and several of the other leaders. They actually had a bunch of A9s and A8s and every other rank, all down to A1, a rank advance this last month in March. But that's a lot of volume to have in a country that we're not even open yet. But one thing that I know about them as I've gotten to know them is what makes them unique. And maybe they shouldn't be unique, but they are very, very clear on what their goals are. They're very clear on their goals. That's why they do what they do. That's why they're able to, amass tens of thousands of dollars in volume right now, even before we're open in that market, because they have a real clarity of goals of what they want to accomplish. Both Oscar and Justin, in speaking with them, they tell me what it is why they're here. They tell me when they're going to accomplish it. I mean, they reverse engineer their annual goal all the way back to what they're going to do this month. And I'll tell you, that's a little bit rare. I wish we all did that. And I like to believe that if we all did that, we would probably have similar results to what they're having there, because let's face it, in Colombia, they don't have any advantage. What's the advantage that they have over any other market? There really isn't one. One might argue they have a pretty severe disadvantage. So there's kind of a lesson to be learned there, from really having very, very clear goals, knowing what you want, and then just taking action on them. And that's it. That's kind of the formula.
Absolutely. And of course, we can't succeed as a company without our distributor succeeding as well, and vice versa. And so you mentioned some of those rank advancements. I think of one of ours in Mexico, Ruben Rostro, who I first met in Cancun at an incentive trip, and he became an A10 pretty quickly, A8 and A10 pretty quickly, if I remember correctly. And then like so many of us, guess what? Life happened and stuff happened. And he took some significant steps backward in terms of his volume. He was dealing with some significant personal and family issues and things like that. I know so much that you even told me that he was considering leaving and quitting, and that you had a heart-to-heart talk with him and kind of pepped him back up. But of course, it didn't stop there. It's wonderful to now know that he hit A12 in March. And that's just an incredible story of perseverance. And like you say, just somebody who said, you know what, I am just going to do this. This is my ticket. This is my chance. This is my vehicle. And I'm not going to let anything, including myself, get in the way of it. And the same with Daniel Pizarro. He and his brother, I think, are really brand new. You can't say that they've had, tremendous success. And they're actually you might even call it ignorance on fire. They don't know that it's supposed to be hard. They just go out and do it. And now they work like crazy. But they're not, I can tell you what, I don't know them very well. I've spoken to them through you a couple of times, but one thing I do know, just by virtue of the success that they're having, is that they're not listening to people say, don't you know that network marketing is just bogus? Don't you know that all those products don't work? They might be hearing it, but they aren't listening to it, and it's not slowing them down, and they're not letting anything slow them down. And so it's right. If it's not unique to a country, it's not unique to a culture. What it's unique to are people in any walk of life who say, I'm tired of where I'm at. I want to do something else. And that drives me so strongly each and every day that I'm going to do uncomfortable things. Yeah. I'm going to get up off the couch. I'm going to make those calls. I'm going to suffer the potential of rejection and disappointment. And it doesn't matter. I'm going to get through all those, because at the end of the day, I know that rewards are waiting for me. And they're perfect examples of that.
Yeah, they really are. And hearing you talk about them, I'm listening to, I'm thinking about the interviews that we've done with them, that I got to do with them. We called them to congratulate them on Friday, and I got to listen to their stories. And there's a common denominator, and this really, we're not just talking about March now. I think that this can apply to April, and since it's happening right now. And it really is, there's a common denominator between Ruben, Daniel, who are our two new A12s, Daniel's brother David, who hit A11. We had 7 new A10s. We had about 20 A9s and A8s. I did recognition on Latinos en Acción earlier this month, and it took me forever to go through and read all these names and congratulate everybody. But the common denominator is, they're all very clear on their goals. You mentioned ignorance on fire. There might be an element of that, but I don't see that. I don't see too much there, because they know exactly what they want, and maybe where there's ignorance is, hey, we've never done this before, because you're absolutely right. They've been involved in the business 5, maybe 6 months, many of them. So no more than half a year to be generating well over 6-figure annualized income, which is over the average income for an A12. So, they joined, I think, 6 months ago now. But the common denominator is they're very clear on their goals. Like I know what all their goals are. They tell me very specifically what they are. They believe that they can change. They believe in the opportunity. They believe in, the underpinnings of the science. I mean, they're blown away by it. They love it, and they have to share it with everybody. They talk to everyone about the products. They're very much product focused and science focused. They take action, right? That's kind of the third step there, is they take massive action. They also have in conversations said, look, we know we can't do this overnight, even though it kind of feels like they're doing it overnight. But they talk about taking multiple bites out of the apple, right? We know it's going to be multiple bites. And so their approach is very systematic, right? And they're good business people. Rodolfo Pizarro, who's the uncle of David and Daniel, he's a very successful businessman with Pemex in Mexico, and he's an A10 right now, A11, excuse me. But they have this approach of taking multiple bites out of the apple, David. And then, they're big believers in investment, not in, buying, stocks per se, but investing in themselves. So they've invested heavily in coaching and seminars and conferences, mostly in books and in audios. And it's interesting because they have, a system they follow, and it includes making sure that they are present in every single corporate event. And what that means is every Zoom, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Thursday Zoom that we do in Spanish, and they get their people who are English speakers plugged into the English Zoom. So that's just a good lesson there. And then the fifth step that they all kind of adhere to is don't give up. They're like, look, we're not quitters. We're not going to give up. We signed on because we fell in love with the product. Our niece and cousins, Dr. Giovanna Rodriguez, who lives in Tabasco, and she's been a doctor whose videos became prolific, especially during 2020 when the COVID-19 was in full swing, and it still is in some places. But she's someone else who really became a product of the products and really put herself out there, put her reputation out there, and stands by her products. And it's because of that belief, belief kind of lining up with knowing what you want to accomplish, that has created this perfect little storm. And now we have this, they're a family, if you haven't noticed the way I'm talking about them. You get uncles, nieces, and cousins, and brothers and sisters. One of them is a professional soccer player plays for Inter Miami. But this family is just, their belief is so high, and they're just sharing with everybody, and the results are coming. So I guess I want to share that on this founders call today, because it's just a great lesson for all of us. You can do things. It doesn't have to take 3 to 5 years. It doesn't have to take 6 years to hit these ranks. Now, granted, taking 6 years to go from zero to an annualized residual income of north of $100,000 a year, that's pretty great, right? That's pretty good. It usually takes someone, a decade and a half or more of education before you can start your job, and then another decade or 2 or 3 before you start earning that kind of income. So they've done that in 5 to 6 months. So that's really my message: is follow the system, believe, be very clear on your goals, and follow each one of those other steps. David, since we've kind of transitioned into talking about April now, what are you seeing? What are you excited about? Obviously, we're working on our TANs, getting ready to go to Punta Cana. But aside from working on our TANs and doing some maybe some push-ups, what are you working on to get ready for April.
Well, we are working on our beach bodies because whether people like it or not, they're going to see us in swimsuits, right? And so that's where Aero comes in. And I'll tell you, we're getting some tremendous testimonials about Aero. And so I anticipate that that's going to continue as people, look forward to the summer months and want to drop that COVID-15 or COVID-20. My wife was telling me yesterday that she saw something that on average, people were gaining I think a pound or a pound and a half every 10 days. And it was incredible. So we need to get rid of that COVID stuff and the COVID weight. And Aero is, people can look forward to new materials and new videos. I'll tell you what, people often, I think, ask the question, well, we know the epigenetic influences found in genomics or link with butyric acid and tetrahydrocurcumin with optimin. But what about Aero? I'll tell you what, you're going to find out that whether it's guarana's ability to increase the number of mitochondria in your cell, whether it's the African mango and agave inulin, their ability to block fat from entering the cells or whatever, there's some real strong epigenetic influence. But at the end of the day, people just got to know that, look at Claudina Brenneman's before and afters. Who cares about the science, right? It works. And that's what people, so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the upcoming medical forum, which will be on Tuesday, the 27th at 7 p.m. With Dr. Brett Earl. By the way, he was just talking to me today, as a matter of fact, about the tremendous influence on Link and what he called post-COVID-19 syndrome, where they're finding out that the damage caused by COVID-19 to cells is almost exclusively confined to endothelial cells. And guess which one? And guess what butyric acid does for endothelial cells? It repairs and replaces. So that's kind of fun. And next week, next Tuesday at 7 is the newcomers call, and that we invite everyone to. So like you say, the Pizarros and Ruben Rostro and others who are advancing, they're plugging in, they're making time. And what I should clarify, what I meant in terms of ignorance on fire, they're ignorant to all the other things that people use as excuses. Or if not ignorant, they just don't give place to it. They don't give place to that you're not supposed to be able to do this in 6 months. It's okay to let other things get in the way. Well, it might be, but don't expect to have the success that they have if you don't do what they do. And so those are the things I see continuing in April, going into May. And so, boy, there's just a ton of stuff to look forward to this month.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. I want to remind everybody, and it's great that you talked about the upcoming science call and the newcomers call. Just a quick word for those of you who are not aware of this, but we have a pretty great promotion running right now through the duration of the month. And why did we come out with this promotion? It really is in preparation for a very special holiday in May, a little holiday called Mother's Day. So we've got a great opportunity for you to get some extra products, some free product, right, to share with the people who matter most to you in your life. If they're not already using it. So make sure you check out our Facebook page for details on that promotion. I also want to just remind everybody that we have coming down the pipeline. We will be having a broadcasting live from the ABC studios in Salt Lake City. In July, we'll be doing our global virtual event again. And there might be some additional add-ons there, so just stay tuned. We might be making some announcements potentially surrounding that event. We will have some new announcements at the event, and that's exciting. So I want everyone to know, that we are, kind of laser focused on that event and getting these announcements ready. For all of you with Spanish-speaking contacts, I will be in November in Mexico doing an anniversary event. We'll have an ACTIVZ Academy in Guadalajara, again, all in Spanish for those of you who have Spanish contacts. As far as something else, David, you talked about Aero. Aero is really, it's making quite a noise out there. You referenced Claudina Brenneman's before and afters and what she's disseminated, sent around. It's incredibly impressive, and many people are seeing some great results. I would encourage everybody to start using it, and of course use it with balanced nutrition, healthy exercise regimen, And with Arrow, yeah, Arrow is incredible. If you want to have some fun, just do some research on your own on African mango. I have kind of moonlighted, David, as a African mango researcher, and because I've never heard of that before, I never knew of that product, of that ingredient before, or that fruit before Arrow, before we started to talk about formulating Arrow, and it's just really captured my attention. But all of that said, we're also working on, I want everyone to know that we're working on some new materials and some new tools. We've partnered with some really best in class producers. We're working on some really cool videos and some nice marketing assets. And I want everyone to just kind of be watching the announcements because they're coming soon. We've also partnered with another very serious branding house, and we're working on a refresh in some areas. So that's exciting, and I'm not sure that I would expect to see that this month, but here very shortly you will be seeing all of that coming in. And all that said, I'm going to kind of close my thoughts, David, kind of wrapping up everything that we were saying, about these people who just, all these leaders out there that are rank advancing right now and helping their members of their team to rank advance. There's an old saying, that knowledge is power, and I think we use that sometimes glibly without really thinking about what we're saying. Knowledge is power. But I heard something recently, a great anecdote that said knowledge is not power. Execution is power, right? Knowledge is potential power, and it's actually the execution of knowledge that is power. And so if you're asking yourself, well, gosh, what these guys are saying, kind of interesting, but what I'd really like is to be rank advancing, like the people they're talking about, like Ruben, like David, like Daniel, like the 7 new A10s we just had rank advance, and like the 20 to 30 A9s and A8s that just rank advanced this last month in March. If you want to really do what they did, harness what I'm thinking in Spanish right now, knowledge. The potential power of knowledge, right? Knowledge is not power, it's potential, right? But you got to put it in action. You got to take action, right? So that's kind of what I want to leave with all of you with that today for the April Founders Call. David, what are your final thoughts on this Founders?
You mentioned how here in Utah spring has finally sprung, although we got snow the other day, but the blossoms are out, the flowers are blooming, and it really is a time of renewal. And I encourage all of us to look at the things about ourselves that we'd like to renew, would like to improve upon. It's kind of springtime is a time of new life. And as a grandfather, I have 4 grandchildren. You all remember as kids ourselves and our own children and grandchildren. As a child, you think anything's possible. If someone asks you what you want to be when you grow up, you come up with all of these outlandish things that you think are possible until someone or yourself convinces you that those things just aren't possible. But they are. It's not too late. Mama Coco, who's one of our distributors in Mexico, just had her 107th birthday, I think, in April. So that was kind of a momentous event. And we don't have to wait until we're 107. If we want to really change, if we want to change our situation, change our health, I mean, I'll tell you one thing, it doesn't matter how good Arrow is, how good genomics is, if we never take them, we'll never get the benefits. And by the same token, if we never do the things necessary, if we don't change, if we don't shake things up and try something new, we're probably not going to change our situation. And so I encourage all of us to look for things as this new time of renewal, is upon us. Let's look forward. Let's look forward to not only the greening of the earth with spring and summer, but the greening of our opportunities, the new things that are in front of us, taking advantage of these vehicles, these opportunities, plugging in. And if you don't have faith and confidence in yourself, lock arms with those of us who do, because we have faith for it. And we really do have high hopes and high expectations and a high amount of gratitude towards all of you, because you're already accomplishing some great things. We think that for you and for us, we're just barely scratching the surface of what's possible, and I'm really excited about that. So, thanks everybody. Have a great month. Back to you, Ryan.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you, David. Guys, we hope you all have a fantastic April, and you've got 2 weeks left ahead of you to close. So let's close strong. Let's pull out all the stops, do whatever we need to take. And let's follow the example of the people who just rank advanced this last month, right? Be very clear on those goals, be willing to change, take all out massive action, one bite at a time, but all out massive action, invest in yourself. Please don't ever quit, right? Like David said, the opportunity right now to make a difference, it's right now, right? It wasn't 5 years ago, and it won't be 5 years from now. It's today. So become a product, and let's make a difference. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, David. Happy April. Okay, we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.